Welcome back to the shop and to the channel. On a previous video, I had shown these Rucker straight edges that I want to get machined and go ahead and hand scrape them. And some of you may have seen that I am planning a trip down to Keith Rucker's shop in Tifton, Georgia to take a hand scraping class from him. Now, as part of that hand scraping class, I'm going to be getting an 18-inch straight edge to add to my collection of a 12 and a 9. And I was kind of hoping maybe I could take these with me, that if I had time, I could go ahead and scrape these in. Well, it's like 2 days before I'm leaving for Keith's, and I have yet to machine these. So here I am on a Monday night. It's actually pretty late. It's almost 10 o'clock. And I'm out in the shop, and I'm going to try to see if I can't get these machined. Now, I've always planned to use the K&T mill to do the majority of the machine work on the straight edges. And I already have the universal head in here from a previous project. As you can see, it's a bit of a mess. So I want to get this machine cleaned up and then get the universal head angled for 45 degrees so I can machine the dovetails on those straight edges. I'd rather use this than nod the head on the Bridgeport, and that'll make the job of doing everything else fairly straightforward. So let me get this mess cleaned up, and we'll get this head rotated to 45 degrees. We'll kick it out this way. I think that'll be easier, and we'll see if we can't figure out a good way to mount these things to the table so I can get them machined. I'm hoping I can get this done before I leave for Keith's, but honestly, I think it's a bit of a long shot. Well, I got to get this mess cleaned up first before I can even try. So the last project I was using this for, I don't think I had the angle of the universal head correct this way. I relied on the protractor gauge on the side, and I don't think it was 90 degrees, so I have done a little bit of work here with this, and I think I've got this dialed in pretty close. So that's pretty spot on. I don't know if you could see that. I was on 0 at the top and the bottom. So now I need to rotate it this way. No, I'm going to kick it out this way, I think. 45 degrees. Let me think about that. I guess it depends on how well I can get the straight edges mounted in the machine. Turn off the phase converter anyway. All right, let's see what I can do about getting a straight edge mounted and at least reasonably close. Well, this is the setup I ended up with. I had to pull the universal head out a little further, which is really cool that I can do that with this universal head. It gives it so much more flexibility. This is set at 45 degrees, roughly. It doesn't need to be exact. I had to get this in a position where I could at least cut this dovetail. I don't think that these clamps are going to hit. I'm pretty sure I rearranged them so they're off to the back. This is on here pretty tight. I've just got this setup block here lined up with the table edges. So, you know, is it going to be perfectly 90 degrees? I doubt it. Let me adjust this just a little bit here. Yeah, that makes me feel a little bit better. So we'll do the 12-inch one first. I think I can get away with these inserts. These are more for mild steel. Normally I use like a ground insert for cast iron and aluminum, but I'm going to see how this looks. I might be okay. Alright, so now to figure out my feeds and speeds, I have this little calculator that I got from Mr. Grundy. So we know we're doing cast iron. We're going to say it's soft because this is soft cast iron, which is rated capacity is 2.6 cubic inches per minute. And then we've got carbide cutters. I believe these are We're going to say 0 rake because it doesn't really matter. 300 to 400 surface feet per minute with a 10 to 30 thousandths feed per tooth. There's 6 teeth on this. So we'll turn this over. The cutting diameter is 3 inches, so we'll bring the 3 up here at the top to the arrow. My surface feet per minute, I said, was 300 to 400. So we'll say 300 here. This is suggesting an RPM between 300 to 400. Yeah, so my RPM should be, let's say 400 RPM. If I got 6 cutters and then I slide this over to say 400, feed per tooth, 10,000 to 30 thousandths. So that's over here. So feed rate 25 to 30 inches per minute, which I can only go up to 20 anyway. So I have plenty of capacity on this machine. I'm probably going to run this 300 RPM or so. Probably pick a mid-range here for the RPM and go from there. All right, so we got it set for 336 RPM. Let's see, is the spindle going the right way? It is. All right. I'm going to set my feed rate here to, let's say 9 3/4. Bring the table up. That should be good. I'm going to lock the saddle in place. I don't want to move that. I'll bring the table up until I touch off. Nope, I'm not going to be doing that. Got to change my setup. That stud back here is too tall. It is hitting the underside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that off. Let me go grab an angle grinder. I'm going to cut those off. I'll bring you back. All right, I have plenty of other studs. I don't have any that are the right length. So quite frankly, it's a lot easier to cut that off than it was to try to deal with it another way.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Now we can touch off. Because the way I have this set up, this is going to be spitting all sorts of cast iron in my face. Well, I made these a long time ago, and that's not quite going to work. But I can at least hold it there and keep this junk from hitting me in the face. Alright, let's zero out my Z, and we're going to raise this up now. Let's say 100,000. Does that sound reasonable? Okay, there's a little bit more than 100 thousandths. All right, 9 3/4 inches per minute. See how this does. A lot of chatter. I tell you what, let's slow that feed rate down to say 4.5. I think that's just the cutter. I feel some vibration in this. No coolant needed. It's cast iron. If I feed it the other way on the way back, maybe those chips will be going away from me and not in my face. Maybe I'll get a little less chatter because it won't be pulling up on the part, it'll be pushing it in. So yeah, kind of poor planning on my part. I should be feeding this the opposite direction.
Well, future Greg here, watching this video as I'm editing it, and I realized while watching the video why I was having so many chatter issues and why the surface finish didn't work out the way I was expecting it to. You only see it momentarily in a couple of shots, but the nut here that's supposed to be clamping this thing in place is loose, and you can see it backing off. and that's actually the case for at least 2 of the nuts. So this universal head wasn't rigid at all, which explains why I was having some initial chatter issues when I was trying to feed it a little bit harder, and also why the surface finish didn't come out as good as it could have. So there's a very good likelihood that I'll be setting this back up in the machine and remachining these dovetails.
I'm going to let this go all the way out to the end. Pretty sure I have room on table travel. Remember, this universal head is this way toward the center, so I lose some right-hand table travel. I think I'm barely going to have enough. When I do the other one, I'm going to have to move it down to the other end. All right. Let's take a quick glance at the surface finish. It's not too bad. There's some chatter in it. I think I'm going to go ahead and move the table that way, 25-30 thousandths, and cutting this way, it'll be moving down. Maybe that'll take out some of this. So let's unlock the saddle. Okay, now we'll go 50 thousandths. Take a little bit more. Well, I'm hoping this time I'm not getting spit too much in the face. Cast iron chips. Thing is that Keith mentions when he talks about machining these, you got to get underneath that hardened layer of cast iron. So I am going to take, another pass at this at least, so I can get up underneath that hardened layer. This dovetail does not necessarily need to be this wide. I'll be taking quite a bit off the bottom as well. It's not really spitting at me as much because it's machining down. More of a climb cut, I guess, here. I think I can go a little bit faster. I'm going to try increasing my feed rate. Okay, that's 5 3/4 inches per minute. There's 7.5. That's actually not too bad. I could probably go even faster. I don't need this to take all night. I'd probably get an even better finish if I use those ground inserts. That's what these ones are. These are the ground inserts that I could be using. We're going to up the feed rate again to 9 3/4. And I'm going to come in, that was 52 thousandths. I'm going to come in, unlock the table. I'm going to come in another 25. So that's up 100 thousandths and in 75. Not that that matters. Yeah, that chatter's pretty bad over there. I wonder if I can try to get that out. Let's give it a try. Let's go in just like 5 thousandths. Which means it's going to spit at me. But maybe machining it this way, smaller amount, maybe that'll help. I don't know. No, that just seemed to add some more machining marks in the face, so I don't think it's going to do any good. That's okay. It just means I'll have to be spending a little bit more time scraping it than I had planned. All right, let's get this unclamped and see how it looks. It's gonna have cast iron chips everywhere. So it's not great. It's not terrible, but there's a lot of chatter in the surface, and that's super unfortunate. I think what I am going to do before I set up the shorter one is maybe I go ahead and change out the inserts for those ground ones, and then we'll get the other straight edge mounted up and try it with the ground inserts and see if those ground inserts will do any better here. I'll be back. All right, we are back. And I have the ground inserts in here. I think I'm gonna clear everything. Let's take a quick... Yeah, we're good there. Barely there. All right. Clearance, 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 right? And this time, instead of moving the table up, the knee up, I'm gonna just move the saddle in for each of these. So let me touch off. All right. I'm going to zero my Y, and I'm going to move in. Let's see. I think we can do 100 thousandths again. Maybe I should back off, you know, because that is that hardened layer. Let's try 25 thousandths to start, because it is a bit hardened on the surface. Let's see if this doesn't do a little bit better. It's probably a little bit lighter than it needs to be. Yeah, let's go 50 thousandths. And 50. Maybe a better surface finish. That did pretty good. All right, that was 50 thousandths, so we're gonna do 100 thousandths this time. So we'll go up to 150 and cross my fingers.
This is going to get really embarrassing really quick. That mistake I made before that I still haven't figured out I made, and I can't believe I'm seeing this now and I didn't notice it before.
Nope. That was a mistake. That was too much. Okay, so I think that was a combination of too aggressive of a depth of cut, too aggressive of a feed rate for those inserts. I should have gone a lot slower. But it is what it is. We'll continue. I think what I am going to do is I'm going to back this out to 100 thousandths. So that'll be a 50 thousandths depth of cut. I'll keep the feed rate at 9 3/4. You know, before I do that, let's check these clamps just to make sure nothing came loose. That's pretty good there. That's good there. Wow, that is crazy. That was way more violent than I expected. Maybe I'll slow down the feed rate some when I go back the other way. Thing is, I know it can do a lot more than that. That's only another 20 thousandths maybe. A lot of chatter. Unexpected chatter. I am covered in cast iron dust, which means when I take a shower, I'm going to have all sorts of little speckles of rust in the bottom of my tub. My wife loves that, by the way. I think I need to do better on the clamping. When I'm machining the bottom, I'll be able to get better clamping on this. I think that's the biggest issue I have, is I don't have a lot of rigidity here. Okay, so I'm almost cleaned up there. I think I am going to go back though and start from the other end, because it seems to do just a little bit better. And we'll go in another 25 thousandths. Alright, let's get a quick look at this one. I think this turned out okay. It looks like there might be a spot down here. Again, this is kind of a crappy finish. It just means I'm probably going to have to do a little more work on the hand scraping part of it. Oh, almost lost it. Since I don't have... I have one magnetic V-block, and I don't even remember where it came from. So I need to get a second one, but there's a lot of mess. All right, what I need to do now is clean up some of these chips, and I need to take the universal head off of the mill, and then I'll be flipping this stuff around this way so I can mill from the horizontal spindle, and hopefully we'll do a better job of clamping it. Let me do all that probably tomorrow, because it is almost midnight and I'm tired. So to be continued. Okay, we're back at it. I've got the machine cleaned up a little bit, and of course, as you can tell, the universal head is off to the side. I have this loosely just kind of sitting on here. I think what I want to do is try to get this dovetail lined up so it's parallel with the bedways. I think that at least when I go to machine the bottom of this, I get a little better, I don't know what you want to call it, alignment between the two. And I do have it spaced away from this metal block a little bit, because I think I would like to machine the edges a little bit, just to kind of, they're non-functional, but I kind of think it would be nice if those were machined straight. I don't know if Keith does this on his when he machines the straight edges for the class, but I want to space this out so I can get an end mill down the sides without changing the setup. I'm hoping that that doesn't create rigidity issues. I recently picked up one of these Noga magnetic base indicators, and they're expensive. Boy, this is a big difference between the cheap Chinese junk I've been using up until now. So we'll get this set up here so we can try to get this aligned. This is way overkill for sure, but you know, it'd be nice. I'm going to power this up so I can use the power feed.
One eternity later.
Yeah, it's a couple thousandths there at the end, but I don't care about that. I think that's going to be good enough. run this one more time. If it's within 5 thousandths, I'll be fine. I'll be happy with that. And it looks like we're pretty spot on, so I want to set my table stop just to make this a little bit easier as I go back and forth. Okay, that's good for that side. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, that's good. I like that. I'll zero out my y-axis, and we're going to be conservative. I learned my lesson last time. We're going to just take 25 thousandths off this first pass. And we're running 336 RPM at 9 3/4 inches per minute, according to the dials on the machine. All right, let's take it a little deeper this time. We're gonna go a full 50 thousandths depth of cut. Gonna take another 50 thousandths. All right, get this out of the way a little bit, because right now I want to go ahead and remove the face mill and replace it with just a 2-flute end mill, so I can do the back strap and the sides. Well, I was getting ready to do the work with the end mill and realized I didn't have this thing in a really good spot. I wasn't going to be able to get the entirety of the sides. So what I ended up doing was loosening all this and realigning it, and I think I've got it dialed in pretty good, within a thousandths or so. Again, this is not a critical thing at all, but I wanted to at least get close. So I feel comfortable that I got it lined back up in again. That way at least the back strap is going to be square. I'll be able to get to the whole sides So, all right, so let's zero my Z-axis here, and we are going to drop this. We'll do another 25 thousandths, just like we have been before. Alright, I'm going to use this mirror here, see if I can't get a peek at how that looks. Looks pretty good. Yeah, I don't think I need to do any more, but I'm going to go ahead and take another 25 thousandths. Okay, and just for good measure, let's go ahead and go another 25 thousandths. Yeah, that looks really nice. All right, let's move over to the other side and do it again. Okay, 12-inch is all cleaned up. I can go ahead and pop these clamps off now. We'll go ahead and get set up for the 9-inch. Since we have this end mill in here, I figure I'll just leave it in here and do the sides and the back strap first on the 12-inch. Well, that's not what I really wanted to have happen. That's the second time I've done that, and that put some definite dings in the back of this thing, and definitely took a giant ding in a dovetail. Man, that was just stupid. That's the second time I've done that. All right, be a little more careful next time. All right, let me get the 9-inch one in here and see if we can do better. Well, those last few passes, I slowed the machine down to 125 RPM and my feed rate to 5 3/4. I feel like I was getting a lot less chatter. I want to take off my last pass here. It's going to just be 25 thousandths. I think that will clean up the left edge of that point. Still a little bit of chatter there at the beginning, but once it gets into the meat of it, the slower speed, it doesn't need to be perfectly smooth and flat. That just gives me a better starting position, which I think is why Keith likes to surface grind these, because it gives you a better starting position if it's truly flat. Alright, that should do it. Turn off the KNT, turn off the rotary phase converter, and let's go ahead and get this thing off of here. And rule number 1, don't drop the bloody straight edge. Nice big burr on the end of that, but it's got some warmth to it, that's for sure. Yeah, that looks so much better. Give you a close up here so you can see. I don't know how well that's come out on camera, but that is 1,000 times, still a little warm, 1,000 times better.
Well, future Greg here again. If you watched this whole video, then you know I made quite a few mistakes machining these straight edges, most notably forgetting to properly tighten the milling head, which explains why things got a little sketchy there for a while. Well, I guess that's what I get for trying to do machining at midnight instead of sleeping. Thankfully, they're not ruined. They are fixable. I probably won't be scraping these when I head down to see Keith tomorrow, but I've already got plans to remachine these, or at least remachine the dovetails and get some magnetic V-blocks so I can clean them up on the surface grinder and get them a lot closer before I start scraping. So yeah, I know I screwed up. It happens. But I think it's important to leave this stuff in because this is how we learn, or at least it's how I learn. Transparency, right? Sometimes the machine teaches the lesson. Anyway, back to present Greg. Or is it past Greg?
All right, well, here's the straight edges. It is Tuesday, April 28th. And I'm going to be at Keith Rucker's on the 29th, learning a little bit more about hand scraping. I think I'm prepared. I don't even know if I'm going to get to these, but if there's time, it'd be great. I thought I was done with this tonight, but I'm an idiot because I forgot to machine the backstrap, and I kind of want to do that. So off camera, after this video, I will probably just clamp this onto the back of the table here. Hopefully I can get some clamps in here. I don't really have any of those clamps that have a little nose on them, so I don't know if I'm going to even be able to do that. I actually had some fun doing this. I felt a little bit under pressure because, you know, I haven't been doing a whole lot in the shop lately. Talk about that in another video. You may have already seen it. I don't know when this one's going to come out, but I'm looking forward to this hand scraping class. I'm looking forward to spending some time with Keith. I consider him a friend. We've emailed and texted occasionally. He even visited the shop here one evening when he was passing through. My son and I had dinner with him and Clark Easterling, and I really had a good time. I like Keith a lot. I think Keith is a good guy, and I'm really looking forward to spending some time with him, as well as the other 9 students that are going to be in this class. We're all going to be able to spend some time at dinner as well, be able to relax, get to know each other. I know there's at least 2 people that are coming from Ohio as well. They're about an hour or so away from me. There's somebody up in Michigan that's coming, so got some people in the neighborhood, so that'll be kind of fun. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little fiasco of trying to machine these straight edges. Did not turn out quite the way I had wanted. Dropping the straight edge was certainly... You know, my channel's transparent. What happens is what happens. It's not a how-to channel. It is, this is what I did and this is what happened. If you learn something from it, like what not to do, you know, that's fantastic. I'm trying to enjoy myself in the shop. I'm trying to enjoy making these videos and putting them together and putting them out there. I do enjoy it. Sometimes it's a little bit much. YouTube revenue there is on this channel, it ain't very much. And, you know, I'm okay with that, but a little bit does help go a long way. You know, it did a couple of months worth of revenue paid for that Noga indicator stand. I mean, this thing is really the cat's pajamas, and I'm glad I have it. So thank you to all of you that are watching these videos and helping contribute to the channel. Please like, please subscribe. There's other ways to support the channel down in the description, so I would love it if you would even just drop a comment and tell me what I did wrong, because I'm sure there's a lot here that I did wrong, and you know, a lot of times I learn stuff from the comments. I'm looking forward to the trip. Not looking forward to the 15-hour drive, but I'm looking forward to spending some time in Georgia. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.